So the other thing I thought it would be useful to talk about is reading labels, because reading labels is super, super, super important. Especially if you've never done it before. It can be a lot more to it than you might. If you glance at a label, you might think, oh, that's okay. So there is more to label reading than meets the eye, and label reading can save you from many a unintentional fall off the wagon. So the first idea when we're talking about reading labels is to read them.
Yeah.
Like, really read the label. You, in keto, you kind of really want to focus on the foods that don't need a label. So your fresh meat, your veggies, although veggies and fruits are a little bit of a minefield, as we mentioned in the last month's episode. But if something doesn't need a label, then more than likely you're okay with it in terms of, your meats and your proteins. One of the things that really, really makes it difficult for consumers is that the front of the label, if you're looking at a label, the packaging, the front will often be screaming something like, fat-free, sugar-free, like packed with healthy this, or, made with avocado, or all of that. You should ignore everything that's on the front. Everything that's claiming to be something, even if it sounds really good, like it's called, avocado mayo, like ignore it all. Just ignore all the front, because that's just marketing, and a lot of it is incredibly misleading. So ignore the front of all labels. What you want to do is turn it over, and the nutrition stuff, the nutrition facts, is what's important for you to learn how to read and for you to do it. Ignore the front, turn it over, and look at that back label. If you've never read labels, you're going to be shocked when you start reading them and looking at what is in the food that you hopefully used to eat, rather than the food you're going to start eating now. So you want to look at the nutrition facts, but you also want to read the ingredients list. So there's two things. Because, for example, with oils, vegetable oils, seed oils, they are 100% keto in terms of they provide no carbohydrate.
Right. And they're high in fat. What could be wrong with that? And
they're high in fat, right? They're 100% fat. So just looking at the nutrition facts is going to say 100% fat, 0 carbs. You're like, whoop, this is keto. I can have this. So that's why reading the ingredients list is also important, because you want to know it's not just about the carbs. It's also about foods that are intrinsically healthy or unhealthy for us. So you want to read the nutrition facts to check the carb and the fat and the protein content, but you also want to read the ingredients, because if your goal is health as well as fat loss or weight loss, then ingredients also matter.
Right.
So especially with products like dairy, and especially with yogurt, we've been trained to think that dairy and yogurt is healthy. But if you flip those things over and read the labels, you will be blown away that a lot of the commercial healthy yogurts that are in the supermarket, if you turn them over, you'll discover that they actually have more sugar in them than regular ice cream.
And yogurt is just like any other product, in that if you want to be big in the yogurt game, you've got to add sugar to your product, because that's what Americans want, is they want that sugar. And so you go to your typical grocery store and look at, 12 feet wall of yogurt, finding the one, and sometimes it's one, sometimes it's two varieties without sugar is very, very difficult.
It's incredibly hard.
I should probably also mention, just because I didn't think about this until somebody brought it up, vanilla yogurt and plain yogurt are not the same thing.
Right.
You're probably going to look for plain yogurt, not vanilla yogurt.
Yep. You want to look for plain yogurt. But I can tell you now that 99% of the yogurts in the grocery store, you will not want to eat on a keto diet.
Exactly.
So I've just saved you like 2 hours of label reading.
Right.
There's no yogurt you can eat. So there are a couple. Peak yogurt, which is currently only available on the West Coast and ships to the East Coast. But of course, shipping is expensive. But Peak yogurt is unbelievably low in sugar, and it is triple cream. So it has 17% fat, which is unbelievable. Wow. It's unheard of for a yogurt. Fantastic product. But as I say, it's not readily available yet. But I know the folks at Peak are working on it. I found I'm not sure what you use if you eat yogurt, but the best I found, best meaning lowest in sugar, is I buy Trader Joe's plain yogurt, but I buy the non-fat. Now, before you all lose your minds, the whole milk version has more carbs in than the non-fat version. So I buy the non-fat version and then I add heavy cream to essentially add the fat back in. So I get my yogurt, I add heavy cream, I mix it in, because that is lower carb than buying the whole milk version. But
and you mentioned that last time we talked. I still didn't. I left not really understanding how that works. How you're taking out the fat and reducing the carbs. I mean, what is it?
I don't know what it is in their processing, or maybe it's just the carbs that are in the. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. But if you read the label, there's less carbs in their non-fat than their whole milk.
Huh.
So, and that's a personal thing. I prefer to buy the lower carb and add heavy cream to add the fat back in.
Makes sense.
You may not have a Trader Joe's. And dairy can be very specific to the community in which you live. So you may have other options available to you that I don't, and vice versa. But don't stress if you can't find, if you end up buying fat-free yogurt, don't stress about it, because it's super easy to add fat back in the form of heavy cream, or even thick coconut milk. If that's your thing, you could add thick coconut milk to make it. It'll be slightly coconutty in flavor, but you can easily add fat to yogurt. You can't remove carbs. So that's yogurt. But you really, really, really need to read labels. The good news is that once you've gone through that work of reading all the labels and figured out what is the best of everything that you buy, you can stop reading labels unless it's a new item. So once you've figured out which in your market is the lowest sugar, the lowest carb pasta sauce that also has no nefarious ingredients in it, then you know which one to buy. So you don't have to keep reading the labels over and over again. You just have to do it once until you figure out what you can have, and then that's it.
Perfect.
So you need to look at, as I said, you need to look at the gram counts, but you also need to look at the ingredients. And here's another example of why, since we were just talking about tomatoes. Tomato paste, or your tomato pasta sauces, tomatoes have sugar in them. So there is going to be sugars, there's going to be an amount of sugars or carbs on that label.
Exactly.
But that doesn't mean you can't have it. What you're looking for is no added sugar. So you can look on the label on the nutrition facts and see how many carbs there are, but then you want to look at the ingredients.
Right.
If there's sugar listed in the ingredients, put it back.
Right.
If there's no sugar listed in the ingredients, then the sugars listed in the nutrition facts are simply the onboard sugars that come in a tomato.
Right.
So those are the ones that you should be looking for. So it's not just about the carb count, it's also about what ingredients are in it. So for most people, the easiest way is if the ingredients list sugar in any of its forms, you just don't buy it.
Yeah. One of my first experiences with this, like I wasn't even keto then. I was just low carb. I was just trying to not eat sugar, and I ate a meal and sprinkled some garlic salt on my meal. And because I was trying to get in the habit of reading reading all the labels, I after I seasoned my food, I turned the garlic salt over, and the second ingredient in garlic salt was sugar. I was shocked. Why would you need sugar in garlic salt? It was salt, sugar, garlic powder or whatever. And I couldn't believe that this, it says garlic salt on the front. I'm only expecting to see garlic and salt.
Right.
And that was really the first time that I realized that there's sugar in everything, that you've really got to be diligent.
Right. And that's a great point. Don't assume things that should be fine. Don't assume that they actually are. And that, I mean, seasonings is a great example. You think, that in garlic salt, there'd be garlic and salt.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are just garlic and salt, but some of them aren't. So you need to read and find the best brands.
Mm-hmm.
And also another example of, you assume that sausages are going to be fine because it's just ground meat, right?
No, it's never ground meat.
Well, some of them are, just like Trader Joe's have a beef hot dog that's just 100% beef.
Nice.
But with sausages, you've got to read the label. There are some fabulous sausages out there that have no added sugars, that have no fillers, that have no gluten, no grains. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of them that have all sorts of stuff in that you would never think would be in a sausage.
Yep.
So this is why it's not just about the nutrition facts and the macro quantities, but you also want to read the ingredients. Even if you think, but that's just a sausage, it's going to be fine, or that's just garlic salt, it's going to be fine. Don't assume. Read all the labels until you find the things that work for you, and then stick with those. I'm a huge fan of sausages. I love sausages. And I probably spent more time in my life reading sausage labels than any other labels ever, because every time I discover new sausages, I want to try them. There's, farmers markets are a great place to find truly keto, additive-free, sugar-free, grain-free, fabulous sausages. You might pay a bit more for them, but in the long run, you're going to be a lot healthier.
So let me just mention something about processed meat for just a minute. Every time some new study comes out that says meat is bad for you, meat is going to give you a heart attack, whatever. When you dig into the numbers, the rate of, or the risk level for whole meat, like just red meat or pork, whatever, is very, very low. It's always the processed meat that raises the risk level to the point where you can get a headline that says it's, that meat is bad. They never say processed meat, just meat is bad. Well, typically when you're eating a processed meat, it typically, just like what Carrie just said, it's typically has grains and sugar, and it's the crap that's been added to this processed meat. That's what's raising the risk of colorectal cancer. That's what's raising the risk of cardiovascular disease. Again, it's not the meat. If you're just eating the meat, it's the crap that we add to Oscar Mayer bologna that raises the risk of getting all the crazy diseases that the vegans want you to think come from eating all meat. It's not eating all meat. It's eating meat that all that vegan food has been added to.
Right. So also, you want to look at, depending on whether you do total carb or net carb, labels can help you determine where the food is, because it will say, typically on a label, it will say total carbs, and then underneath it will say fiber. So that's the place where if it says, 20 grams of total carbs and then underneath 9 grams of fiber, then for those of us who do net, that's 11. So that's how you can work out whether it fits into your macros, either whether you're total or net. And also you can remove, they're now listing sugar, alcohol separately. So under the total carb line, you'll see fiber, you'll see sugars, and then you'll see sugar alcohols. You can subtract the fiber and the sugar alcohols if you're doing net. So that's how you can easily work that out. The other thing that makes reading labels super, super important is serving size. So, and the manufacturers are getting super sneaky that you turn it over and you read the gram counts of how much fat, carbs, and protein it has in it. And typically you're holding this thing, whatever it is in your hand, and you're going, in your mind, it's going, oh, that's what's in this packet, jar, bag, whatever. That's what it is. Later, then you might discover that actually those numbers relate to a third of that packet.
Right. A serving size.
Which changes everything. So it's super important. 3 things: the ingredients list, because ingredients matter, the nutrient breakdown, which will tell you how much carbs, how much protein, how much fat, how much fiber, but you also want to take into account the serving size. So for example, those bags of a purely keto product is like the Moon cheese or those cheese crisps. You're looking at those ingredients at the nutrition facts and you're saying, oh, it's this much fat and this much protein, but you don't realize, and so you might just go ahead and eat the whole bag, not realizing that you're actually eating 2 or 3 times
exactly
what it says in terms of fats or proteins, because one bag might not equal the serving size data that is on the back of the packet.
Exactly.
So, and if I'm going to miss something on a label, I always, not always, but if I'm going to miss something, it'll be the serving size, because it's so ingrained. You're going, oh, those numbers, oh, that sounds great. You know, I can eat that. Always check the serving size to make sure how much of that packet, jar, box is giving you the nutrient breakdown that is listed on the packet. Because very often they're very different, and you could very easily railroad yourself unintentionally by eating the whole thing, not realizing that you've got 2 or 3 times the nutrient breakdown that you thought you were going to have.
So Steak and Iron just tweeted something just before we came on. I was looking at, he's got 2 identical cans of salmon, same manufacturer, same, can and everything. One says it's a product of the US. One has been imported from China, but it's the same manufacturer. When you turn it over, the macros for each can are radically different. Like the amount of protein in each can, the number of fat in each can, and it's just wild caught canned salmon. But apparently, where China, wherever China catches their salmon from versus wherever US, catches their salmon from, the fish are different.
The wonderful Steak and Iron, who I adore, even though we've never met, he's comparing those 2 cans of salmon brings up another great point, which is take all macro information with a grain of salt.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's gonna give you a ballpark, but if you lose sleep over data that's giving you, or macro data, you're going to be losing sleep needlessly, and you're going to stop your fat burning through stress.
Yeah.
So don't stress about it. Use it as a guide, but don't give yourself sleepless nights over macros. So, but serving size, super, super important. Make sure you know how much of the contents of that packet, can, jar relates to the nutrition data that they've put on the back, because it often isn't the same.
Right.
And sometimes you will be amazed at how tiny amount of it you can eat to get the nutrition that they have suggested it holds. And again, ingredients are also important. I have typically found that the crappier the food, the worse the serving size fraud is.
Yeah.
Just so there's a correlation there, but that's kind of what seems to be common to me, is that the worse a food is for you, the more discrepancy there is between the serving size and the nutrition data on the label.
Mm-hmm.
And I absolutely believe that companies use the serving size to misguide us, because it looks better if they don't put all the fat and protein and carbs that are in the whole thing. It looks better if they put a different,
especially if they can get something that they know you don't want below the like the FDA level of being able to report it. So my favorite one is Tic Tacs. They can say that a Tic Tac is sugar free, even though a Tic Tac is 99% sugar, because the serving size is one Tic Tac. The level of sugar doesn't reach the level of having to report it. And so, you know, you eat the Tic Tac, it says it's sugar free. It's all it is sugar.
Hands up if you only eat one Tic Tac.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you're eating half the box, right?
Exactly.
So yeah. So just read the ingredients, read the nutrition data, check the serving size, take it all with a little bit of a pinch of salt. You know, don't hang your hat on it, and yeah, don't eat Tic Tacs.
Don't eat Tic Tacs. That's good advice. That's real good advice.
The kind of fat, we mentioned this before, but it bears repeating. The kind of fat, don't just look and see, ooh, that's high fat, that's great. Look at the kind of fat. You want to avoid anything that has processed vegetable fats in the ingredients. You want to look for things that include olive, avocado, coconut, butter. You want to avoid soy, safflower, canola, all of those kinds of things. Even if the nutrient facts, the fat, protein, and carbs is all goodness, still check for the kinds of fats. There's a trend in the dressing department that has people putting avocado oil on the front of the bottle, and then you turn it over and it's 90% canola oil with like a splash of avocado oil. So don't be misled by the front of the label.
Mayonnaise too. Mayonnaise will do the same thing. Avocado oil mayonnaise, and it's not. It's all canola oil.
And it's canola oil. So just be super, super careful about that. If you want to find out your macros or calories for something, it's super easy, because there is a formula that holds true whatever. So one gram of fat is 9 calories.
Right.
It doesn't matter which fat, that there's just 1 gram of fat, it will give you 9 calories. 1 gram of carbs will give you 4 calories. 1 gram of protein will give you 4 calories. So you can easily multiply if you work out your macros by calculating calories. Some people do it a different way, but if you multiply it using calories, that's how you can quickly do the math using the data on a label to figure out how many calories are in it. So for fat, multiply the number of grams by 9. For carbs and protein, multiply the number of grams by 4. That all added up will give you the calorie content of that thing. And lastly, opt for the best choice.
Yes.
If in doubt, just don't buy it.
Yeah.
But if you've got, like, you know, if you're in a grocery store, there's like, how many different pasta sauces are there nowadays?
Exactly.
Like, whatever. Buy the best one that is available to you.
Rouse is kind of my go-to, and there's another one that I always forget the name of, but I recognize the label when I see it. But Rouse doesn't have any added sugar typically.
Trader Joe's has several, but I know not everyone lives near a Trader Joe's, but Trader Joe's actually has several tomato products, cans and jars, that have no added sugar. So Trader Joe's, for budgetary reasons, Trader Joe's is always my go-to for things like that.
Something else that I'll do is I'll buy one of the bigger cans of tomato sauce, just the tomato sauce, and put it in a skillet. And my wife grows herbs, so a ton of oregano, a ton of basil, some salt. Let it simmer for, doesn't take long, 10 minutes. Stir it up, and I have a pretty good tomato sauce just out of tomato sauce.
Yep, and I often do the same because it's also cheaper. At Trader Joe's, they have cans of just basically pureed tomatoes,
Right,
which has nothing in it and no sugar. And it's super cheap and super low in carbs. And I will just buy that to use as a base for pasta sauce rather than buying the more expensive jars, which have other ingredients in.
exactly.
So as I say, don't opt for the best choice. If in doubt, don't buy it. But I don't want you to be overwhelmed by this information, and just bear in mind that once you've been through this process of finding out which is the good tomato sauce and which is the good tomato paste and which is the good chicken broth and which is the good beef stock and which is the good yogurt, then you're done. Then you just know you can keep it. Okay, these are the brands I buy, and you know what to do. And then it just gets super, super simple because you can avoid like 90% of the entire grocery store because
if I ever went into the grocery store and it only had the products that I could buy in it, it would fit inside my pantry. I mean, the whole grocery store would fit inside my living room probably.
Right.
So there's just not a whole lot of things you have to learn once you learn it.
Right. So I highly recommend that you get over the hump of clearing out your garbage, restocking for a keto pantry, and reading labels until you find out the best products available in your area for you. And then that's all you need to buy. And then your fresh meat, your fresh fish, your fresh keto veggies, and then you're done. And then once you've got over that hump, it all becomes simple and a lot easier, and it costs a lot less and it takes a lot less time once you've got over that hump. But I highly encourage you to get over that hump because your keto journey will be a lot easier and a lot more successful in the long run.
Absolutely.